Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Releasing the Realness, the no fuss, no faffing and no fronting show where we keep the conversation strictly candid. Today I'm joined by the lovely Deborah-Darling and she'll be giving us an exclusive glimpse into her journey so far. You guys know the drill by now, so without further ado, come along for the ride as we release the realness on brokenness. So one of the things that I came across, one of the things I discovered when I was researching the topic of brokenness is that it's really multidimensional. And what I mean by that is that there are levels to it. So people go through different stages of brokenness, people go through brokenness in different ways. And because of that, I think it's fair to say that no two people will ever experience brokenness in the exact same way. And so my first question to you is, what was your breaking point? And talk to us about the series of events and the different scenarios that led up to your breaking point.
Right. Breaking point 2015, 18th
Right.
of March, when I was diagnosed with depression. I'm bubbly. I'm happy all the time. It's just in my nature. My mum says you wake up at 6 a.m. all the time and you're ready for your day. And hearing those words, you have depression, was my breaking point. That's when I knew, okay, I'm a little bit more broken than I thought I was. And the events leading up to that, I was at uni.
Okay.
It was my final year at uni. My dissertation was due in 2 months.
So that pressure was on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was in a relationship with a guy and finding out that he had gotten 2 other females pregnant. And this is someone that I thought, okay, maybe we're going to get married.
Yeah.
And it was all this fairy tale stuff and adding all the pressures of uni on top of it, then not having my friends around, and I'd stopped going to church. I'd become this party animal. I'm a pastor's child. So being at church was like...
It's what you've grown up with. It's
Yeah.
what you've known, really, isn't it? Yeah.
And I stopped doing it. And I did this whole partying thing. I tried this relationship. I was in my final year. I thought, yeah, and then...
During the course of that time, I'll just stop you there.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever sort of think, yeah, I'm heading towards a downward spiral, but I don't care. I'm going to carry on anyway. Were you conscious of it? Were you doing it like deliberately, almost to be rebellious, or did you want to seek another way? What sort of, what triggered that sort of, opposite direction? Yeah, going away from what you've always known, what you've always been brought up with.
I had enough. I had
Enough of
enough
what?
of expectation.
Okay.
Being a pastor's child meant that everywhere I go with my dad, all eyes on me, she's got to be this perfect child. And people don't realise how much pressure that is, because you've got to get the good grades. You've got to be a respectable child, get a good
You've got
job.
to be the model child, haven't
Model
you?
child at
Everyone has to
church.
look up
Everybody
to.
has to look up to
Yeah.
you, and you've got to be that child that everybody's got to copy. And I said, well, I don't care. I'm not going to do it. I literally was just like, I actually don't care anymore. I just stopped caring. And it wasn't, I was conscious of the fact that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, but I just didn't care.
Right. That's interesting. But I think that's also dangerous when you get to a point of not caring anymore, when you're so apathetic or so indifferent. It's like the enemy sort of got you where he wants you in a way. So when did it sort of dawn on you? When were you like, oh my goodness, my life is a hot mess? When did it dawn on you that, wow, I'm in a season of brokenness and there's absolutely nothing I can do about it? I might as well just deal with it. When did that sort of dawn on you? When did you, I guess, surrender, if you want to use that word?
That same day. That same day I got diagnosed, I sat on my bed and I wrote a note on my phone and it says, I can't do this anymore. And I kept that screenshot.
Wow.
And it was, and I actually said to God, I said, we're doing this properly or I end it all.
Wow. As in suicide?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I was just like, this is too much. This is actually too much for me now. I don't want to be this role model child. I don't want people to look up to me. I don't want all this pressure. I just want to be me and be free. But if you're calling me to something else, I'm going to do it, and we're going to do it properly, or we're not doing it at all.
Wow. So almost like giving God an ultimatum.
Yeah.
To an extent. Wow. Interesting.
The Almighty, little old me.
The God of the heavens and the one who created you. I mean, you know, give him an ultimatum. What does that mean? No, I'm loving it. I'm loving the honesty. I'm loving the brutality of your honesty. It's great. So you talked about pressure and expectations and things like that. Did it come directly from just people in the church, within, you know, the congregation, within the body of Christ, or was it outside as well? Was it family members?
Everywhere.
And how did you respond, like in the early stages? How did you respond to those expectations and that pressure when you did live up to it, or when you didn't live up to it and you fell short? What was your sort of
I was always
reaction?
trying to live up to it because I was raised properly, both parents, with my pleases and my thank yous, and knowing the word. I knew scripture like the back of my hand. Like I was going the right way. And I just got fed up because I'd go to school and my friends would get to do certain things and I wouldn't. Why? Because your dad's a pastor. Pastor's child can't do that. If pastor's child is seen with a boy, oh, I saw pastor's child with a boy, probably my cousin.
But then all sorts of thoughts are racing around in people's minds, rather, and then you get Chinese whispers.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I
It's almost
tried
like
to live
feeling
up to it.
like suppressed almost, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you did the U-turn, you made the U-turn. Okay, and so which area specifically would you say in your life required, I guess, God to sort of, you know, destroy and rebuild? And what I mean by that, I know a lot of people, when people think about sin or weaknesses, people a lot of the time tend to automatically just think of like the grotesque sins. And the reason why I'm using fingers is because in God's eyes, sin is sin. There is no greater sin or lesser sin, right? But people always seem to deem or categorize certain sins as weightier or having, you know, bigger implications than others. And what I'm talking about is, was it things like your attitude? Was it your mentality? Was it, I don't know, disobedience? Was it, you know, negative thinking? What sort of areas did you, you know, require the broken God to break you, I guess, in?
My constant need for other people's approval.
Okay.
That was the biggest thing for me because
Validation.
Yeah. That was validation and character, because I'm a strong character. You can't, no one can tell me, like if you tell me this is green, I'll tell you it's red and I'll stick to it.
to the very end.
That's me.
To the bitter end.
That is me. And God really had to be like, you need to start listening. You need to be moldable. You can't be inspirational and I can't use you until I can mold you, until I can really shape you. Until then, forget it. You're just going to keep doing this.
So it's almost like a bit of a stubbornness to a degree, and not wanting to be given instruction, or not having that teachable spirit.
Yeah.
Is that just from elders, or is that from peers?
Everyone.
Everyone.
I was
weren't
always
having it, just didn't want to know.
My mum always calls me this free spirit that just doesn't care. And the thing is,
Sometimes that's good, I think.
I think God put that in me for a purpose.
Yeah.
Because using it in his kingdom, I don't know if you've seen, but I'm very unapologetic about being a woman of God.
One of the things I think I really like about you. Yeah.
So me, in the world, it wasn't useful. In the kingdom, it's powerful.
Love that.
Because nobody strays me from God's love. Nobody strays me from wanting to seek God's approval. See, now I wanted people's approval.
Right.
But he molded me to seek his approval. And that's all I stand for now.
And that's all that counts, isn't it?
That's all that
because
counts.
People will have their opinions. People will have their comments. You get people on the sidelines, you know, chit-chattering. But at the end of the day, they don't know the work that God is doing inside of you. And, I mean, people's opinions change like the weather, as we know. So we can't live a life where we're sort of constantly trying to live up to approval. But I feel like a lot of people still struggle with that. I know as teenagers, maybe it's something that we have to, that we encounter. But I think even older
Even
people, adults, yeah. 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, like that, that desire to have the approval of others, to be liked, to be accepted. Why do you think that is?
Because we don't have enough self-belief. And self-belief only comes when you begin to really believe who Christ is. You find out who you are through Christ.
Right.
Minus that, you don't know who you are. So you're trying to ask everybody else, who am I? So if I don't know who I am, if I haven't found Christ enough, I'm going to go to you and I'm going to say, yes, who am I? Did I do this good? Did I do that good? Is this right or is this wrong? But if you are stood firm in Christ, you don't have to ask anybody who you are. You don't have to ask anybody, is this right or is this wrong? Because you know exactly what God has told you. And you stand with that. And I think that's what it is. We're not rooted in God's love enough.
Right.
We're not rooted
You don't have a full understanding of
We
it.
don't.
Yeah.
We never will, because
It's a mystery, isn't
yeah.
it? Yeah. And it's just so enormous, so magnificent that I don't think we'll ever be able to grasp it fully. But like you said, it is a fundamental thing to understand that love. And who is Christ to you? You talked about we don't know who Christ is. Who is Christ to you?
My everything. My father, my teacher, my lawyer, my provider, protector, healer, everything. Everything. I'm nothing without him. He validates me. So minus him, I'm not doing this interview. Literally.
Yeah. There is no you without him.
Yeah. I don't have anything to sing about if I don't have him. I don't have a reason to breathe if I don't have him. So
cool. I love that. I love the fact that you're so, like you said, unapologetic about the fact that he's your source, and it's like, yeah. Take me or leave me. Take it or leave it.
that's
yeah.
all.
What was it like to confront your own sin? What was it like to sort of admit to yourself that, yeah, Deborah, you've flopped, boy. You've flopped. Like.
Well, so I went to Jerusalem
Okay.
that same year for 6 weeks. And I spent the first week in Jerusalem crying.
That's a long time to go to Jerusalem for. Yeah, nice. Okay.
By myself.
Oh, wow.
No one else.
Solo trip.
Solo trip.
Tell us more.
So this was as soon as I finished university, I came back to London. It was my dad's 50th birthday. And the next day I was flying out to Jerusalem. And I stayed with one of his friends for 6 weeks. And I knew that me going there, I would come back a different person, but I didn't know what the process was going to be like. I didn't know. I thought, oh yeah, I'd be praying every day and I'd be reading my Bible every day. No, I was broken every day.
Wow.
It was literally, I asked God, show me my ugly.
Literally just as plain as
I
that.
said, God, show me my ugly, and he showed me my ugly.
That's difficult, isn't it? That is difficult.
It was hard. Really seeing the parts of me that I thought were okay. But God was like, nah,
That stinks. Yeah.
That stinks. No, dirt, filth.
Yeah.
Stop it, behave. Even now that I've been with, well, I call it my walk. Even now I've been on my walk now for over 2.5 years, there's still some days where he's like,
yeah, some things are sort of trying to rise up to the surface
yeah,
again.
he's like, not even to the surface, still things that I didn't think were a problem. Even to the way I dress.
Wow, interesting.
The way I
really
dress, the way I do
interesting.
my hair, the way I do my makeup. There's some days, no, my daughter.
And do you listen? Do you take heed?
Choice. First, well, I'm a bit of a
Do you
troublemaker.
try to negotiate? Like,
Yeah.
come and do a deal. It's a bit of a compromise here and there. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it doesn't work. And then he shows me that he's God.
So it's like God almost took you to Jerusalem to sort of bring you to a place of solitude, to isolate you, to get you by yourself,
Yep.
away from that environment, away from all of
Yep.
that craziness. Wow. Did you ever feel like you were forsaken at that time?
No.
No.
I felt like I was dying inside though, but not in a bad way.
Okay.
I felt like I was putting to death a lot of things that needed to die, that I kept resurrecting.
Such as?
My need for validation.
Yeah.
Something that I speak about a lot is loneliness. we complain about being lonely, but if you look at the life of Jesus, every time he wanted to speak to God, his Father, he would go into lonely places. And I used to despise being lonely. I used to despise being by myself. And then I realized, no, those are the times when God shapes you.
Yeah.
Those are the times when he probably says the most important things to you. Yeah. Because he knows he's peace. He's peaceful. And he's very still. So if you're going to be in the mess and the loudness and the chaos, you're not going to hear him clearly. So that's definitely something.
Well, yeah, I'm really just like in all the feels right now. All the feels. What was it like? What was harder for you? Was it harder to confront your own sin, or was it harder to confess it? And when I say confess, to people that you would deem as elders or mentors in your life, what was more difficult, confronting it and admitting it to yourself, or confessing sort of like, okay, this is where I'm struggling, to someone else?
Confessing.
And why?
Because I'd been brought up by my parents to have this persona, to have this is like a model of yourself.
To keep it all together all
to
the
keep
time.
it all together all the time. You don't share your brokenness. My dad's a pastor, and pastors are, you never see pastors cry. You never see pastors go through emotions or problems or anything. So I'd been brought up as, this is our model family. This is how we keep it.
So that sort of thick skin.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So it was hard to confess it to people, because I'm like, what are they going to think? Pastor so-and-so's daughter is doing this and she's done this, and So how were you able to sort of push past that that barrier, if you like, or that almost being trapped to not be able to be vulnerable, like when maybe you desperately just want to just let it out, but because of your reputation, if you like, or because of the image that you're trying to uphold? How did you break past that? Something I started learning very early on my walk was, somebody else will get blessed by your story. And if you're keeping it in just because of how uncomfortable it's going to make you feel, you're blocking somebody else from getting their healing. That's how I pushed past it. I was like, I'm not going to, if I can stop somebody else from going through everything that I went through and every feeling, and if I can do that just by releasing what I've been through.
Releasing the realness,
Literally. If I can do that, if that's all I have to do, so be it. It's going to be uncomfortable.
It's a tall order, isn't it?
Yeah. If it's going to be uncomfortable, but so what? It's something I always said to God. I said, God, if you have to break my heart for other people's hearts to be broken, I'm cool with that.
Wow, that is powerful. That is powerful. If you have to break my heart
for
other people to be healed, I'm cool with that. Here I am, send me. No, that is powerful. That is powerful. In the past, you've spoken quite openly about heartbreak.
Yes.
You've spoken quite openly about broken relationships. Tell us how you've been able to deal with that, how you've navigated your way through heartbreak and broken relationships. How did you overcome it?
Honestly, fasting.
Really? Interesting.
Literally.
Break it down.
My thing is food.
So is mine. No shame. No shame.
My thing is food, and I comfort eat.
Right.
And I've had weight problems in the past, but that's another topic for another day. But my thing is food, and I comfort eat. And when I'm feeling low, I eat. And something I've been taught since I was younger was fast. Whenever you want to get closer to God, whenever you want to hear him clearly, fast, etc., etc. There's some things that can't be broken without fasting. It says it in the book of Matthew.
But by prayer and fasting,
So I was like, there's something in that. Some things can't be broken. Some things can't be healed. Something
soul ties even,
Let's go on a fast. But I didn't do an ordinary fast. I did a dry 72 hour.
Wow, so no water, no food, no nothing. Just your saliva.
Basically.
Wow. That's intense.
And I just said, God, I know people always say time's a healer, but what I know is you're a healer. So you can do this in 10 years, or you could do this in 3 days. Let's do it.
So you just said, I'm ready to do this now. I don't want to go through endure these feelings of heartbreak for the next 10 years of my life. I want to be free, basically.
So that's the spiritual side. The practical side is I completely take myself out of the situation.
Okay.
So I remove all people that are affiliated, associated with that broken place.
How is it to do that, to just detach yourself, almost cut people off?
I think it's a gift. You know
But
how I
you
said
don't
I'm
feel
very
any way about it,
unapologetic?
yeah.
I'm like, I need to be healed to help other people be healed. So I can't stay in that broken place. I mean, I can be broken for God to mold me and heal me, but you can't stay there. You have to move because somebody else is needing you to be healed for their healing. So it's very an unapologetic thing. I just do it.
What are people's reactions like when you're removing yourself from a situation or you're cutting people off like just with no second thought? How was that? How do people respond to that?
Initially, they're kind of like, what happened? Where are you? You're not. Then I think after a while, they kind of get it. Because I always ask God to give them peace.
So you didn't feel the need to explain yourself to them?
No. You don't have to. I don't believe at this grown age of mine that I always need to explain myself when it comes to my relationship with God and other people's souls.
That's maturity, yeah.
You don't always have to do that. If you're going to have to keep giving people reasons, they're going to give you reasons to come back.
That's right. And it won't make sense to everyone either. No. Yeah, that's right. So how has heartbreak affected your outlook on relationships, just in general?
It's taught me that love is a beautiful thing. We just abuse it. And because we don't understand it, we don't get to really utilize its full potential. It's also shown me what I can and can't take as a person in an actual relationship.
Yeah.
It's shown me what I can and can't take. It's shown me that I have a big heart and that I love. And when I love,
yeah, you give everything, yeah. 110%.
I give you everything.
So, you've just sort of told us that you're someone who wears their heart on their sleeve. What are the cons of that? What have you seen to be the cons of that?
People take advantage and they think you're always going to be there, and rightfully so, because we always want people to always be there. But the problem is they take and give nothing.
Empty, aren't you?
And you're left empty.
So how do you guard yourself against that then? Going there.
Well, this is a conversation I had with my mum. She was like, be careful, be careful. And I was like, what do you mean be careful? How do we actually be careful? And the answer that God gave me was, you stay inside of me. That's where protection is. If you're going to take your heart out and give it to somebody else without God's permission, without seeking God, without it being in God, that's dangerous. But if it's rooted in God, if it stems from God, if you've prayed and you've been still, you've gone to lonely places to wait, to listen to Him, to hear Him, you're going to be fine.
You're an only child, aren't
Yes.
you? And what's that like? What's it like being an only child?
I don't know, because that's all I know.
But you talked about being lonely earlier on in our conversation. You said you've always sort of struggled with loneliness, and you noticed that it's something that's quite common as well amongst your peers. But as an only child, not having siblings, not having anyone to compare yourself to or compete with, not having to share, all those sorts of things that come with being an only child, how do you think that has shaped you as a person?
I'm an only child at home, but at church I have many siblings.
Okay, right.
So I've always had to share my parents. I've never had.
If they're pastors, yeah, 100%.
I think I've only had my dad for Christmas probably twice.
Really? Wow.
And that's because I forced him. I said, you're not doing any counselling today. You're not taking any phone calls. You're
Christmas Day?
Yeah.
Wow. You're very generous then. You're very generous.
I didn't have much of a choice back then, but now I'm kind of like, Dad, you're my dad first.
Yeah.
Can you just be
your shepherd? Yeah.
Can you please be my dad?
Talking about your relationship with your parents, I think at the moment it's in a good place. It's in a really good place, but it hasn't always been like that, has it? It hasn't always been rosy. Talk to us about some of the tension, the conflict that you went through with your parents growing up. And one thing in particular that I want to touch on is as an adult child, because you're not a baby.
Child.
Yeah, you're not a baby. You're an adult, and although you're an adult, I think parents will still see you as their child, regardless. When even in your 60s and 70s, God willing, if they're still alive, you're still their baby. So being an adult child, and the rocky relationship that you had with your parents. Talk to us about that. Tell us more.
Everything was fine, dandy, till I hit about my teenage years.
Yeah.
And
Adolescence.
Yeah, and I thought I was right. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. You don't have a say. No. I had militant parents. So it was
Strict,
like
yeah?
very strict. So it was like, no, you follow our rules. You live in our house and you're going to follow our rules. Not just our rules, but you have to also follow biblical rules. So we were always like this. I'm very, very opinionated. I don't shy away from speaking. And I'm sure you get.
Yeah, you'll speak up, you'll express yourself, yeah.
So, but my dad taught me to be like that.
Okay.
But now it was
backfiring on him at that time, wasn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. And, back then it was about gelling your hair and putting
slicking it, diamond tees on the side, the
My
whole
dad hated
works.
it.
Wow.
Hated it. And he could not stand me just looking like he called it ragamuffin.
Oh gosh.
He didn't like makeup, he didn't like all of that stuff, but I was really into that kind of stuff. And I felt like my parents hated me because they didn't let me do it. And I was really into music and the artistic things, but I was smart enough to do the academic things. So I was an AA star student. So for them, it was like, become a doctor, become,
A lawyer,
I'm like,
accountant.
no, musician. And they're like,
Not really getting it. Yeah.
they're like, I'm like, makeup artist? They're like,
What? Say what?
this girl wants to kill us.
She wants to shame us.
I'm wanting to do all these things. And they're like, no, all these children look up to you and you're going to go and do music. That's not going to pay. And I felt like I was in a prison. I was like, why do I have to? So this goes back to the whole expectation thing. I'm like, why does my life have to be affected by everybody else? Why can't I do things?
Responsibility to bear for a teenager. Yeah, it's a lot.
And so we went all the way through my teenage years. So I purposely went to uni in Nottingham to get away from them.
Wow.
Not because I wanted that uni. I mean, the uni was good for forensic science, but I wanted to be as far away as I could, but close enough to come home on the weekend.
So you had that independence.
Yeah. But then I came back to London, went through everything I went through at uni and came back 2.5 years ago and realized that was one of the biggest mistakes I made in my life.
Wow.
Leaving my parents.
Wow.
And that's how our relationship got better, because I said to myself, I can't love another man properly until I love my dad properly.
He's the first man in your life, isn't he? Yeah.
And if I don't get that relationship right, getting a relationship with someone else's son, void.
Yeah. Void.
Void.
It's going to be a mess, isn't it?
And that literally, so I started consciously working on my relationship with my parents, because I said, you know what, I've been running away from you guys, but you guys really had my back, and I just didn't know that you did.
Yeah. Love that story. As an adult child, how do you live out the Bible's instructions to honour your parents? What does that look like to you on a daily basis?
I'm laughing because we're not your conventional family.
In what way? What do you mean?
I call my parents by their first names.
Okay.
But
your parents are of African descent, aren't they? They're Ghanaian, I believe. Yeah.
And they don't care.
I like that. I love that. In
Yeah,
fact.
we go by first names in our house.
Okay.
So no one else can do it, because if someone else does, I'll be like, excuse me, can speak to my parents with respect. But
that's interesting.
So like what, I don't know, because according to tradition and culture and stuff, if someone was to hear the way I speak to my parents, they would think it's disrespectful and offended. But my parents are like my brother and sister. So it's like, we have our days where it's brother and sister, and we have our days where it's mum and dad.
Yeah.
The obedience thing.
Obedience, honouring. Obviously, I know they're not the same thing.
I still give it to them.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like, I still honour my parents. I still obey my parents. I mean, there's things that they'll tell me to do that I don't agree with, and I will express to them that I don't agree with it.
Respectfully.
Respectfully.
Yeah.
Not disrespectfully. No.
Yeah, because I think being an adult child, like I said again, I feel like it can be difficult, because you're able to express your opinion. You've got your own decisions to make. You've got your own outlook and view on the world. And obviously your parents want the best for you, but sometimes saying no, especially in particular cultures, saying no can be seen as being rude or being disrespectful. And no isn't necessarily rude or disrespectful. It's just no.
It's just no.
It's just no.
I don't want to.
And striking that balance, striking that balance can be difficult. Again, it's in the how you say it, how you deliver it is very important. It's good that you've got such a good relationship with your parents now that they respectfully will understand and accept your decision, even if it's not what they necessarily would do themselves. But it's your life. They can guide you. The Bible talks about train up a child in the way that he or she should go. When he's older, he or she's older, they will not depart from it.
Exactly.
So in some respects, they've done their job, so they've got to sort of release you to make those decisions as well, and trust that God will guide you. Cool. So talk to us about Pain Birthed My Passion. I see that as the strapline of your ministry, if you will.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? What inspired Pain Birthed My Passion?
My passion to do what I do now and everything that I do now came from the fact that I was so hurt and broken and so much in pain that I wanted to do everything that I could to be out of pain and not return to that painful place. So it birthed my passion to strive to become the best person that I can be and help other people to become the best versions of themselves as well. So that's all it is. Pain birthed the person I am today.
Amazing, love it. You also founded, or are the founder of, Women at War and Men at War. Tell us about this movement and what we can expect in the coming days, weeks, months. Women at War, Men at War. Give us the DL.
Women at War, Men at War is an unapologetic movement of young people. No, not even just young people. People. Women or men, girls or
young,
boys,
old,
whatever you are, fighting to become great men and women of God, because we don't wrestle against flesh and blood.
What's the war that we're fighting?
It's not a physical one, it's a spiritual one. And I think that's what we forget as believers. We forget that this walk is not a physical walk.
It's not.
It's a spiritual walk. And the Men at War, Women at War movement is to remind us that we are constantly
at battle.
Literally, whether it's depression, whether it's loneliness, whether it's low self-esteem, whatever it is, we are all fighting something. We're all fighting it, and it's not a physical fight. It's here and it's spiritual.
And what can we expect from Men at War, Women at War? What
Fire.
does the future hold?
Fire.
Red hot fire.
Fire. We held the first one this year in June.
That was Women at War, right?
That was Women at War. And I can't lie, all I expected was about 20 women in one room, and then we were just going to pray and sing songs.
Cute.
And then hundreds of women started walking through the door and queuing up, and I said, I actually walked out and cried.
Wow. Gosh. It's overwhelming, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
Because I thought that, okay, God, I get it. You gave me this vision because I'm a tough nut. But right now, this is overwhelming.
Wow, and you broke down in tears.
I walked out and I went into another room and I cried and I said, God, do you really think I can do this?
Wow.
I know I'm tough, but there's like almost 200 women in this room.
They were waiting for you to come out.
Yeah. Where are we going?
Yeah, we're going to war.
What war?
Yeah.
At that moment, I was like, what war are we fighting again? So we can expect fire.
Doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
He really does exceedingly and abundantly above and beyond. How did it go then?
Amazing. It was fire. It was 3 hours. There was no chairs. Just women. Videographers, photographers. The whole band was women. The only man there was my dad. And it was just pure, authentic worship. And the best thing about Women at War is no makeup, no fashion. Throw your status in the bin, throw your name in the bin. Come as you are.
Yeah, I love that so much. I love that. Strip back all of the layers.
Everything.
Take off the facades. Yeah, forget Snapchat, forget social media. Yeah,
let God deal with the real you.
Yeah, I love that. And obviously the response was huge.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what people were looking for. And what's to come with the Men at War? Obviously, men, it's a different kettle of fish. So I know your dad's involved in that, isn't he?
Yes.
So give us a bit of a preview if you can.
So Men at War basically stemmed off the women at war, because a lot of the women were like, what about our boyfriends? What about our husbands? What about our cousins, brothers? I was like, oh my God, let me go pray about this. And then God was like, men at war. And I said, my mum, how am I going to do men at war? I'm a woman. She said, Deborah in the Bible led an army of men.
Wow.
What's your name? I was like,
Wow. How pathetic is that?
I said,
I forgot.
I was like, you think I can lead an army of men? And she goes, your dad's a pastor too. Why are you hiding away from it? So men at war is not going to be the same as women at war. The scripture for men at war is different. It's, you are my battle axe and sword. Right now, I can't remember where it's from. But the scripture for that one is like, men in this generation, I think they've forgotten that they are powerful tools. And instead of coming together to really, really fight a good fight, they're fighting each other. Yeah. But if we can unite in God and source our power from God, do you know how powerful our men will be? How powerful.
Unstoppable, yeah.
Literally, we will not have so many people confused about who they are, so that they look to the world to find out who they are and be killing each other. And it breaks my heart. It actually does break my heart to actually see these young, majority are black men, young black men killing each other. And when you find out some of the reasons,
yeah,
you're like, really? Like, did you not? I'm gonna cry if I talk about it too much, but it breaks my heart to the point where I'm like, Dad, we have to do something about it. I'm tired of people putting a hashtag, pray for so and so, RIP so and so.
Yeah,
no,
so easy
church.
today, isn't
Let's
it?
come together. Let's actually be practical now. Let's stop doing this.
Yeah, get on our knees. Yeah, definitely.
Because one can chase 1,000, two can chase 10,000.
That's right. Sounds like it's gonna be mind-blowing. It's going to be an
probably
absolutely
cry
mind-blowing,
again.
probably a mind-blowing event. And I know, like, you know, the issues that men deal with, they're different, but they're just as deep. I think they're just as deep. So I'm so glad. I'm excited that you're taking on that mantle and you're just going to address that, you and your dad. And I think it's going to be an amazing time in God's presence, an amazing time of refreshing and restoration.
Yes.
So yeah, all the best with that, and we'll be keeping you in your prayers. So just to round up, I've got a few quick fire questions. It's not a test, it's not a quiz. So just relax and just try not to overthink it. Just give us the first answer that comes to your mind. First one is, finish this sentence. Worship is?
My weapon.
Your weapon. Nice. What's the lesson that took you the longest to learn?
You can't fight life by yourself.
I'm going to elaborate on that a bit.
Yes. No matter what struggle or whatever thing that you're fighting, it's not you that's going to actually do the fighting. You have to say that you're going to fight, but then you give the fight to God. So you can acknowledge that there is a fight.
Yeah.
But you give that fight to God. So you go to God and you say, God, this is it. This is the fight. Fight it for me.
Whatever that fight may be.
Whatever that fight may be. So you cannot fight this fight of life by yourself.
Awesome. And lastly, how do you know that God is real?
I woke up this morning.
Simple as that. Awesome. Thank you. Well, that's it for another episode of Releasing the Realness. And as always, it's been real. Deborah, you've been absolutely amazing, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your heart with us. I've learned a whole lot, and I'm sure everyone watching at home has learned a great deal as well. If you would like to get in contact with Deborah, if you'd like to connect with her, please feel free to get in touch with her across her various social media platforms. And lastly, from me and for everyone in the studio, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time on Releasing the Realness.